everyone, today I'm going to show you how I painted my armor for Star Wars Legion for the new Mandalorian armies. I got her from the base army box that was recently made by Atomic Mass Game. I'm going to show you from how I painted it to how I based it. Obviously, the very first thing I did was just assembling her, very classical, with plastic glue and stuff. Then, for some reason, I didn't really know what order I wanted to do things, so I kind of did it in a bit of a random order. So I started with my Iron Warriors base, and I painted the armor's weapons, as well as the bottom of her armor, which looks like some sort of, I don't know what it is, but it looks like some sort of dress. Then, once I was done with this first coat, I took the Balthazar gold base and used it over the helmet and over the chest plate, and then took it and kind of dry brushed the bottom of her dress to make it look a little bit less brilliant, less like gold, but still have a bit of a golden color. Then I took my Abaddon black paint and I sprayed it all over her clothes, on the arms and the legs, and on her neck. Then I took a little gold paint of mine. It doesn't have a name. I have it like it's all, and I overlined all of the edges and little details of the armor. And then I mixed my Balthazar gold with water, and I painted all over her armor to make her look less brilliant on the gold, but still very nice. Then I took some brown paint to make the fur, and I used a few layers, including some brighter colors mixed with water to just blend in a little bit. And I used the Golfo brown, and I used as well some Sonia brown. To continue, I did the leather with Vitre Ancient war paint. Then I took my Abaddon black and I glazed it in the little details of the helmet on her head. As I was done with the miniatures in itself, I moved on to the base. I took my very thick cork, because I only had this, and to make it a little bit thinner, I just cut it with my hobby knife, cut it in two, making the bottom a little bit more thin to make it a little bit easier to use on the base. Then I took my hobby knife and I cut a bunch of parts to make it fit on the base. To paint my piece of cork, I took the Bugman Base Glow. I had already tried a bunch of things. It didn't ended up really nice, so I decided to start over with a new paint I had just bought. And this paint looks like some sort of terracotta dirt, and I thought it looked really cool. Then I took some AK effect, and it looks some terrain asphalt AK effects, and I used this terrain all over my piece of cork. Why? I wanted to make it look like the armor was like on a road that had been blown up by explosions, by bombardments, maybe a planet on which there were battles and orbital bombardments, and that, as you can see, I added a few pieces of corks, and those are to represent like the fact that the terrain, the area was really destroyed, and there were pieces of the road that were moved everywhere. Then I took my usual white color, and I decided to make some little stripes of white to make it look a little bit more like a road. The name of my white base is the Corax White. So I had to do two layers to make it look fine, because otherwise it was a little weird. So I just made those little stripes, trying to make them about the same size as each other. And I thought I think it really looked pretty nice. It now looks like a road, in fact. That was my goal, so it's really nice. For the sides of the bases, I took my Balthazar gold paint, and as I used it for most of my miniature, I decided it would be really nice to use it on the sides. I usually take the color of the miniature. Now you can see the final result. It's a little bit unclear, I'm sorry about that, but I think I ended up making her look really nice. And yeah, I think she looks pretty cool, and she will be a nice miniature to have on the battlefield. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and see you in another video. Have a good day.